So that's a little bit of the sort of environments that we take you to. Tent with a View Safaris with innovation and integrity, and that is us. Founded by David Guthrie, who's a fellow Yorkshireman, and Masudi Kilanga, who is a Tanzanian gentleman. And between them, they're a lethal combination. David has got the wildest imagination, and consequently, we've got some quite quirky and innovative properties. And Masudi is a genius, is an engineer and a builder and a guide, and he can build whatever David comes up with, and consequently we'll show you some of our properties that are a little bit different to the norm, characterised by being a bit quirky, not quite what you'd expect where they are, but also in the most incredible places, and the places that are geared towards animal experiences and away from people, and that's what we're all about. I think we're a couple of shy Yorkshiremen who like to be in the middle of nowhere, looking after fellow wildlife enthusiasts and seeing some amazing things. The integrity bit is, I don't think you can do what we do without having some serious conservationism and environmentalism in your DNA. So again, you know, I don't think these trips are just about let's go into these environments. They're literally life-changing as far as we're concerned. You know, you see different things and you experience different things, and we have got to make sure that we actually put things back into the country. So Tanzania is it's 4 times bigger than the UK. It's in East Africa, just below the equator. Kenya's above it, Malawi's below it, Rwanda, Burundi, etc. 53 million people, and it's got some fantastic physical attributes and wildlife experiences. There's Lake Victoria, the second largest freshwater lake in the world, and the source of the Nile. There's the Serengeti that lots of people have heard of, and it's no coincidence that a lot of the wildlife documentaries are filmed there. There's fantastic Selous that is part of our group trip, and it's the biggest game reserve in Africa. It's the size of Switzerland. It's been recently turned into a national park, which doesn't really make any difference to us. It's just the government department that manages it. And it is now the biggest national park in Africa. Saadani, which is a beautiful little jewel of a national park on the east coast of Tanzania, right opposite the island of Zanzibar. It's 1,000 square kilometres, and it's got all the animals that you'd expect to see there, but its one massive advantage is its eastern border is the Indian Ocean, and it's a really special place, and it's the place where it all began for us. And then there's the incredible island of Zanzibar, an eclectic mix of all sorts of cultures, having been ruled by the Omanis, the Indians, the Arabs, the Portuguese, the Germans, the Tanzanians. And consequently, there's all of that history in there. So not is it just a jewel of an island with a tropical beach and a turquoise sea, it's got some serious culture in there. And it's a really good way to finish off as we do on our group trip. That's Tanzania, as I say, 4 times bigger than the UK. What's so special about Tanzania? What does it make? What's different about Tanzania than other countries? Well, it gives over 38% of its land to conservation and wildlife, and that is an incredible proportion of a country. It just shows you how important wildlife and wildlife tourism is to Tanzania. So all those yellow dots or yellow splodges, they're the national parks or the game reserves. It's got 4 million large mammals within its boundaries of all of those conservation areas. Of the 25,000 lions that are left in the world, and that's a shockingly small number, 15,000 of them are in Tanzania. Of the 415,000 elephants in Africa, 60,000 of them are in Tanzania. So it's the place to go and see animals as they were meant to be. Unlike the South Africas or the Botswanas, none of these conservation areas are fenced. And so the migratory routes between each area are still in place, and you will find animals roaming from one conservation to the other through vulnerable areas for sure, but moving in the way that they always did. Anyway, I digress. The country is split into two, really. There's the Northern Circuit, which has got the incredible Serengeti, the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, which is based around the Ngorongoro Crater, Tarangire National Park, Lake Manyara National Park, and of course Kilimanjaro's up there. So if you were looking for a tailor-made trip and you fancied going to see Lake Victoria or the Serengeti, we would put something together, and I'll come on to that shortly. Of course, the Serengeti is characterised especially by the Great Migration, 1.7 million wildebeest and zebra, all moving around 14,000 square kilometres of conservation grasslands. And that's an incredible thing. Onto our group itinerary, we take in Saadani, which is the little yellow dot there that I was talking about, right opposite the island of Zanzibar. There's Selous Game Reserve down there in the south, next door to Mikumi and Ruaha. Selous, best place in the world for seeing wild dog. So all of these places are very, very different ecosystems from the Saadani coastal ecosystem, obviously affected by the sea and the salt, and the behaviour of the animals is slightly different, to the Selous, which is mixed woodland, and the Serengeti, which is grassland. Serengeti in Maasai is the everlasting grasslands, and literally you can see grasslands from horizon to horizon, and that's a very rare and unique ecosystem. And it comes about because the Rift Valley runs all the way through from Lebanon all the way down to South Africa, and this is where the volcanic activity was so incredible. And I don't know whether anybody saw the Perfect World series with Attenborough, but the first episode was about volcanoes, and it began in this Rift Valley area, and all the ash splurged out by these volcanoes have brought the landmass up to 1,400 metres above sea level, but have made a very nutrient-rich area. And so the plant life brings the vegetable eaters, which brings the predators, etc., etc. I won't go into that, but geologically, Tanzania is unbelievable. I was talking about innovation at the start, and basically David thought what a good idea it would be to put a property on top of a Land Rover, which would allow us to get into the nooks and crannies of all these incredible national parks. So Masoudi went, I can do that. And this is what he's come up with, and this is what we are best known for. It's an absolutely cracking product, if you like, but it allows us to get into all the nooks and crannies of the beautiful Serengeti. And of course, that's where the people aren't, and that's where the animals are, and that's what we're all about, and that's what they look like when they're put up. So this is what goes on in the Serengeti. And these bush rovers, of which there are 6, we pitch in proximity to the Great Migration. The Great Migration being this body of wildebeest and zebra that move around the Serengeti in January and February down in Cassini, and this is where they coordinate their mating and calving. So 500,000 wildebeest are born at that time of the year, and that's where we take the bush rovers. As the year progresses, we don't go there April and May. That's the heavy rains within Tanzania right across the board, so we generally don't travel in that period. But in May, they move up to the Grumeti and then into the Mara area in the north, and then you see all those classic Mara crossings. So that's what we do when we're up in the Serengeti. That's where the bush rovers live. And this is what they look like, and this is what we go and see.
Still out of even higher. Still out. Still closing down. Yeah.
So the Serengeti that everybody knows, and the proliferation of animals is just on a different level up there, and the Great Migration characterises it. This is what the bush rovers look like, perfectly comfortable, 12 feet above the bush, so you're looking down onto the animals, and invariably you will wake up surrounded by something. Might be elephants, might be wildebeest, might be zebras, but it'll be something. And this accounts for the group trip and tailor-made trips. The sort of timetable that you have when you're in the bush is up early in the morning and out to see when the animals are active, when it's a little bit cooler. So generally you get up, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee, and you're out and off you go, and no two safaris are the same. And we see what we see. We stop and watch whatever we want to watch for as long as you want us to watch them. And invariably we come back and we talk about the animals' behaviours and what we've seen, and how fantastic to see that lion and the cub up the tree, or that herd of elephants, or whatever it may be. But every single time you go out there, it's completely different. So it's, you know, we're like little kids. Every time we go out there, it's brand new. We're as excited as you are when you go out there. So we come back, talk about what we've seen, and the day's yours. Bear in mind, we're in the middle of the bush most of the time, so do the things that we don't get a chance to do: read a book, have a nap, take in the sights and the sounds of the bush, and then we feed you again at lunchtime. This is characteristic of safari. You get fed and fed and fed. You can say no, but it's quite hard to do so. And then we're back out there at 3:30. Again, when it's cooler, the light is beautiful for the photographers, and the animals are coming alive again. They're stirring, the predators are out there. They start hunting when it's cooler, and we'll stay out until it's dark, and we'll come back when it's dark and see if we can see any of the nocturnal animals like aardvarks and things like that. Come back and we'll have a big meal, cooked by Charles in the middle of nowhere. How he does it, I've absolutely no idea, but he produces a chocolate fondant that would give a London restaurant 5 stars. And you're out in the bush. The stars are absolutely on the canopy tops, and it's just a special place to go, whichever bush you're in. So in Selous, in Serengeti, in Ngorongoro, in Saadani, it's always the same. The light pollution is next to zero, and consequently you can see shooting stars, you can see satellites passing. When there's no moon, you can't see a hand in front of you. When there's a full moon, it's like a dull day in England. It's just a special place, and the bush just leaves you changed. It touches you in a way like no other place has been able to do me, certainly not. The bush rovers have got all the creature comforts, as you would expect, and the ablution facilities are a flush toilet on the passenger seat of the Land Rover, and so you're looked after, you're comfortable, the food is good, the environment's good, there's only 6 there, and so it always feels special. Little Okavango Camp by Lake Victoria, I'll mention because it's paired with the Serengeti, and this is a camp by the western gate of the Serengeti, right next to Lake Victoria. So again, if you were looking for a specific itinerary, sometimes we start up here, and this is one of our camps as well. Again, you'll notice a tower there. David said, wouldn't it be great to have a tower overlooking Lake Victoria? Masoodi went, yeah, I'm going to build one. And that's what they did. So a beautiful place to start a Serengeti safari. The rooms are large and comfortable. There's only 6 of the bungalows, and just a lovely place to start up in the north. Right, onto the itinerary for the groups, and Sable Mountain performs a large part of the property that we stay when we're down in Salou. And Salou, the biggest game reserve in Africa, as I mentioned earlier, got all the animals that you would ever dream of seeing. Good elephant populations, tons of lions, best place in the world for wild dog, and they're all right on our doorstep. So there's 12 stone cottages overlooking the game reserve, and they're very, very private. They're spread out over, I don't know, maybe 1 kilometre. So you really feel as though the place is all yours. We've got an aquifer on the camp, and basically that provides us with spa water. And in a very decadent way, we've filled up the swimming pool with mineral water. So it's quite a fancy place in terms of you can bathe in mineral water there. But more to the point, we're right on the doorstep of this incredible ecosystem that is Salou Game Reserve, named after Frederick Salou, a bygone explorer of Africa. Gives you an idea of the privacy. We've got bathtubs there that you can sit outside and gaze up at those stars that I mentioned, but just a special, special place. Simply Saadani is where I mentioned it all began for us. This was this camp wasn't our first camp, but just down the beach was. And Saadani is a place that not many people have heard of, but hopefully the travel counsellors can bring Saadani to you. Nobody ever rings us up or emails us and says, I've been thinking about going to Saadani. We are one of only 2 operators in this national park. And the unique, not quite unique, but very, very different characteristic of Saadani is it's got that eastern border that is the Indian Ocean. And that is it. Everything green there are where the animals live. And that's the Indian Ocean, with Zanzibar maybe 40 kilometres east of us here. And these properties are right on the water's edge. So you've got all the animals in the back, you've got the beach at the front. We get up early, we go and do the safaris. We can do a boat safari down the Wami River, which is quite a unique thing. It's one of only 2 national parks in the country that you can do that. We can do walking safaris, and I'll come on to what Bab's camp allows us to do as well. This is the main banda. This is where our bar area is, and through those curtains there is a sand-floored restaurant, and the sea is literally 5 yards further on. And we have visiting bush baby families coming to us every night here. There are vervet monkeys, and there's all the smaller animals. So it's a super place for families. It's super, super romantic. You get lots of little animals like sunny antelope, which are the size of Jack Russell dogs, and the bush babies and what have you. And then we've got all the big stuff that sometimes comes and visits us, which are elephants knocking coconuts out of the palms. We had a big male lion frighten the living daylights out of one of our guards the other week. So you've got to be on your toes. You're in the bush. There are no fences, as I mentioned earlier. You will be safe. You are safe, but there's a little trepidation knowing that you can venture out and see some leopard prints, and that leopard was around last night, etc., etc. So again, special place, right on the beach as well. This is what the bandas look like, right on the beach. Quite simplistic, but to be honest, when you're in places like this, you hardly spend any time inside. It's nice and cool because you get the breeze through the gauze windows at night. It's never oppressive in terms of temperature. Gets to about 34, 35 during the day, but that nice breeze on the beach is absolutely beautiful. And it's genuinely as beautiful as that. We call this the wilderness beach, and you can stand on that beach and look 25 kilometres either way and not see a soul. It is all yours. And there's not many times in your life that you get a chance to stand on a remote place like that and still have all the creature comforts and all the entertainment of the national park. Within Saadani National Park, we've got Bab's Camp, and this is our own conservation area. It's 8 square kilometres, and it's a little sort of landlocked area within Saadani National Park. How it came to be available, I've no idea, but it's our little jewel within the national park, and this is where we get a chance to spend some time, because the sea comes in on the spring tide and then leaves a residue of salt. It attracts all the animals down to lick the salt and take the minerals. So there's a little herd of buffalo here, but it brings the elephants down, and this is called Elephant Island. These are the rooms within the tower, and I'll show you a little bit of a video now. And because it's ours, you know, of course we're absolutely respectful to the animals, but we can do what we want there within reason. We can take our dinner tables out and have dinner under the stars with our armed guard, of course. We can even take beds out there and sleep under the stars. This is what it looks like. So that's what Saadani looks like. It's just a special place. It's an incredible, incredible place. The last location that we're going to discuss tonight is Zanzibar, and the vast majority of Tanzanian safaris end on the island of Zanzibar. As I mentioned earlier, you're up early, you tend to go to bed early. Sometimes you sleep with one eye open because what was that noise? Or did you hear that lion man? How close do you think he is? And when you get to Zanzibar, you're ready for a little bit of relaxation before you come to the craziness of come back to the craziness of the lives that we live over here. The Zanzibari Hotel is a boutique hotel. Again, characteristic of us, small, intimate. It's set on 3 hectares. It's got 15 rooms, and therefore it never feels busy. The restaurant is large and beautiful. The food is absolutely super. And you're on the island of Zanzibar. As I mentioned earlier, it's been ruled over by many countries, and consequently it's a real eclectic mix of cultures. It was the first place in Africa to get electricity, and that is represented in a historic site called the House of Wonders. There's a Portuguese fort. This is where the great explorations began, you know, Speke and Burton and Livingstone. And so it's got all of that history. It's got a very tainted past of this is where all the slave trade came out. And so there's tons of culture. At one point, 1/3 of the world's spices were grown on this island. So there's loads to do if you don't want to just sit and put your feet up on a tropical beach. But why wouldn't you want to do that? Just beautiful. Because it's tropical, it's verdant green and beautiful turquoise water and white sand. So that's who we are. You know, the accommodation is a little bit different. It's a bit quirky. It's innovative. It's always as close to the action as we can possibly get, always close to the animals. We know these places, we know what the wildlife experiences are like, and we know where to go. And as I mentioned earlier, we shy Yorkshiremen, we like to be away from the crowds. We like to be close to the animals. And therefore, it gives you quite an exclusive feeling when you do come and visit us, that you're not in a big camp, you know, queuing up for a buffet breakfast. You feel as though the place is absolutely yours, and so should you. I mentioned earlier about the integrity of it. We are conservationists at heart, and we work with several NGOs. This is Bridge to Aid, who do fantastic training of Tanzanian doctors and dentists, and we've supported them for 10 years with accommodation, and we always will do because they're brilliant. Got our own research centre at beautiful Saadani, and this is where we've done various work, including collaring elephants, which is not the easiest thing to do in the world. We've collared zebras. We're about to collar lions, and we share this research information with TANAPA, which is the Tanzanian National Park Authority, and the universities. And so if you want, you know, when you get there and you see the animals, and instinctively you want to know more, you want to understand why they behave like that and why they live in these areas and what have you. And we've got people that can give you talks and tutorials on elephants in a coastal ecosystem, or the zebras that were relocated from the Serengeti into Saadani. How are they doing? Why did you bring them here? Why weren't they flourishing in the first place? Etc., etc. So there's loads and loads of brain food there, as well as the cultural stuff, as well as the wildlife stuff, as well as the geological stuff. I'm hugely, hugely biased, but there is nowhere on earth like Tanzania, honestly. On top of all this, we manage a green turtle conservation beach, which is just down the coast from Saadani, and we got news, it must have been 2 or 3 months ago, that a big green turtle mother had come up the beach and actually laid about 120 eggs in the middle of simply Saadani camp. And that's great for us because all the hatchlings will return back to have their own eggs there, and that's what they do. This is Hamisi Kasa. Kasa means turtle in Swahili, so this is Hamisi Turtle, and he has managed this beach for 18 years, and there's nothing that he doesn't know that doesn't go on that beach. But again, you know, a little bit different. We've got the wild animals inland within Saadani. We've got the turtle beach. We've got the research centre. There's tons to do, and if it wasn't the most romantic place you've ever been in your life, it's super interesting and super informative. So that's who we are. Safaris with innovation and integrity. We've been there a long, long time. If we don't know what we're doing, then God knows what we've been up to. But we're very passionate. We will look after you like royalty, and we're privileged to work in a place like that, and we love partnering with the travel counsellors. Thank you very much.